1. What is the primary purpose of the Florida Real Estate Commission, FREC? A. Regulating real estate schools. B. Enforcing environmental laws. C. Overseeing construction projects. D. Licensing and regulating real estate agents. Answer: D. Licensing and regulating real estate agents. Explanation: the primary purpose of the FREC is to license, regulate, and enforce discipline for real estate agents in Florida. 2. Define homestead exemption in the context of Florida real estate. A. A tax deduction for first-time homebuyers. B. Protection against certain types of lawsuits. C. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. D. Exemption from environmental regulations. Answer: C. A reduction in property taxes for primary residences. Explanation: homestead exemption in Florida allows homeowners to reduce the taxable value of their primary residence, thus lowering their property taxes. 3. In Florida, what is the maximum allowable rate for usury in a mortgage? A. 18%. B. 25%. C. 12%. D. 15%. Answer: A. 18%. Explanation: in Florida, the maximum allowable interest rate, usury limit, for a mortgage is generally set at 18%. 4. Explain the term blockbusting in real estate practices. A. Building large residential blocks for profit. B. Dividing a large estate into smaller lots. C. Persuading owners to sell by claiming demographic change. D. Blocking certain groups from buying in a neighborhood. Answer: C. Persuading owners to sell by claiming demographic change. Explanation: blockbusting is an illegal practice where owners are persuaded to sell property cheaply by suggesting that demographic changes in the neighborhood will reduce property values. 5. What does escrow mean in the context of a real estate transaction in Florida? A. A legal boundary dispute. B. A type of mortgage loan. C. A holding of funds or documents by a neutral third party. D. Early payment of property taxes. Answer: C. A holding of funds or documents by a neutral third party. Explanation: in Florida real estate, escrow refers to money, property, a deed, or a bond put into the custody of a third party for delivery to a grantee only after the fulfillment of the conditions specified. 6. Scenario: a Florida property owner sells their home but retains a life estate in the property. What does this mean for the new buyer? A. They can lease but not occupy the property. B. They cannot take possession until the seller's death. C. They have immediate full ownership of the property. D. The property is considered a timeshare. Answer: B. They cannot take possession until the seller's death. Explanation: retaining a life estate means the seller retains possession and use of the property until their death, after which the buyer gains full possession. 7. How does Florida law define a broker's associate? A. A broker from another state. B. A sales associate working for a broker. C. A broker who works independently. D. A co-owner of a brokerage firm. Answer: B. A sales associate working for a broker. Explanation: in Florida, a broker's associate is a licensed real estate sales associate who is employed by a broker. 8. Describe the concept of adverse possession under Florida law. A. Taking possession of property through a will. B. Acquiring title to property through long-term, open, and notorious use. C. Purchasing property at a government auction. D. Seizing property for unpaid property taxes. Answer: B. Acquiring title to property through long-term, open, and notorious use. Explanation: Adverse possession in Florida allows someone to acquire title to a property if they openly, notoriously, and continuously occupy it for a specific period under certain conditions. 9. What is the significance of the Burt J. Harris Jr. Private Property Rights Protection Act in Florida real estate? A. It governs estate sales of private property. B. It protects homeowners from eminent domain. C. It allows for private sales without a realtor. D. It provides relief for property owners inordinately burdened by government action. Answer: D. It provides relief for property owners inordinately burdened by government action. Explanation: the Act allows property owners to seek compensation when government actions inordinately burden their property without amounting to a taking. 10. In Florida, what is a special assessment in real estate taxation? A. A tax for properties with historical value. B. A tax on properties for specific community improvements. C. A standard property tax. D. An environmental impact tax. Answer: B. A tax on properties for specific community improvements. Explanation: special assessments in Florida are taxes levied on properties to fund specific public projects, like road construction or sewer improvements. 11. Scenario: a real estate agent in Florida discloses that they have an interest in a property they are selling. What are the legal implications of this disclosure? A. The sale becomes voidable. B. It's considered a conflict of interest and illegal. C. The agent must relinquish their commission. D. Full disclosure is required for ethical compliance. Answer: D. Full disclosure is required for ethical compliance. Explanation: in Florida, if a real estate agent has an interest in a property they are selling, they must fully disclose this fact to all parties involved for the transaction to be ethically compliant. 12. Define title insurance and its importance in Florida real estate transactions. A. Insurance against property damage. B. Insurance protecting against title defects. C. Mandatory hurricane insurance. D. Insurance covering real estate agent errors. Answer: B. Insurance protecting against title defects. Explanation: title insurance is a form of indemnity insurance that protects against financial loss from defects in title to real property and from the invalidity or unenforceability of mortgage loans. 13. What is a 1031 exchange, and how is it utilized in Florida real estate? A. A short-term property rental agreement. B. A method to defer capital gains tax by exchanging like-kind properties. C. A standard contract for real estate agents. D. A zoning law amendment process. Answer: B. A method to defer capital gains tax by exchanging like-kind properties. Explanation: a 1031 exchange, used in Florida and elsewhere in the U.S., allows investors to defer capital gains taxes on real estate by reinvesting the proceeds from a sale into another like-kind property. 14. Explain the difference between general warranty deed and quitclaim deed in Florida real estate. A. A general warranty deed guarantees clear title, while a quitclaim deed makes no guarantees. B. A general warranty deed is for residential properties, while the quitclaim deed is for commercial. C. There is no significant difference. D. A quitclaim deed is used only in foreclosure, while a general warranty deed is not. Answer: A. A general warranty deed guarantees clear title, while a quitclaim deed makes no guarantees. Explanation: in Florida, a general warranty deed guarantees that the property title is free and clear of encumbrances, whereas a quitclaim deed transfers whatever interest the grantor may have without any guarantee of a clear title. 15. Scenario: a couple is purchasing a waterfront property in Florida. What are riparian rights, and how might they impact this purchase? A. Rights related to the use of inland waterways. B. Rights to access and use water resources adjacent to the property. C. Rights to modify the coastline for personal use. D. Rights to restrict public access to the waterfront. Answer: B. Rights to access and use water resources adjacent to the property. Explanation: Riparian rights are the rights of a landowner whose land borders a natural watercourse like a river, lake, or tide. In Florida, these rights include access to and use of the water adjacent to their property. 16. In Florida real estate law, what distinguishes a joint tenancy from a tenancy in common? A. Joint tenancy requires equal shares, while tenancy in common does not. B. Joint tenancy is for commercial properties. Tenancy in common is for residential. C. Tenancy in common allows for the right of survivorship. D. There is no legal difference in Florida. Answer: A. Joint tenancy requires equal shares, while tenancy in common does not. Explanation: In a joint tenancy, each tenant holds an equal interest in the property, while in a tenancy in common, tenants can hold unequal shares. Only joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship. 17. Describe the process of foreclosure in the context of Florida real estate. A. The immediate seizure of property for non-payment of taxes. B. A legal process by which a lender attempts to recover the balance of a loan from a borrower who has stopped making payments. C. The transfer of property to a new owner without a sale. D. A process where the government seizes property for public use. Answer: B. A legal process by which a lender attempts to recover the balance of a loan from a borrower who has stopped making payments. Explanation: Foreclosure in Florida is a legal process where a lender seeks to take ownership of a property used as collateral for a loan, typically after the borrower fails to make payments. 18. What role does the closing statement play in a Florida real estate transaction? A. It finalizes the mortgage terms. B. It's a final inspection report. C. It outlines the final financial transactions and terms of the sale. D. It's the final agreement between the real estate agents. Answer: C. It outlines the final financial transactions and terms of the sale. Explanation: The closing statement, also known as the HUD-1 or settlement statement, itemizes all the financial transactions and costs involved in the real estate transaction, including payments, fees, and closing costs. 19. Scenario: An individual inherits a property in Florida that is subject to a lease. What are the implications for the new owner regarding the existing lease? A. The lease is automatically terminated. B. The new owner must renegotiate the lease terms. C. The new owner is bound by the terms of the existing lease. D. The property is exempt from lease laws. Answer: C. The new owner is bound by the terms of the existing lease. Explanation: In Florida, if a property is sold or inherited while under lease, the new owner inherits the property subject to the existing lease and must honor its terms until it expires. 20. Explain cap rate in real estate investment and its relevance in the Florida market. A. It's the maximum allowable interest rate for mortgages. B. The capitalization rate, a measure to evaluate a real estate investment's potential return. C. A regulation on the maximum size of a property. D. A tax rate applied to the initial purchase of property. Answer: B. The capitalization rate, a measure to evaluate a real estate investment's potential return. Explanation: The capitalization rate, or cap rate, is used in real estate to determine the potential return on investment, calculated by dividing the property's net operating income by its current market value. 21. Define net listing in the context of Florida real estate transactions. A. Listing a property at its net worth. B. A listing agreement where the agent keeps everything over a set price. C. A listing requiring net payment at closing. D. A digital-only property listing. Answer: B. A listing agreement where the agent keeps everything over a set price. Explanation: a net listing agreement in Florida allows a real estate agent to keep the difference between the actual selling price and the owner's desired price as their commission. 22. What is the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act, and how does it relate to real estate? A. An act regulating fair trade of agricultural properties. B. A law that governs ethical practices in real estate advertising. C. A zoning law for commercial properties. D. An Environmental Protection Act. Answer: B. A law that governs ethical practices in real estate advertising. Explanation: the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act is designed to protect consumers, including real estate transactions, from deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable practices in trade and commerce. 23. Scenario: a real estate agent in Florida is representing a buyer. They discover that the property the buyer is interested in is in a flood zone. What must the agent disclose to the buyer? A. The potential for natural disasters. B. The property's flood zone status. C. The history of flooding. D. The cost of flood insurance. Answer: B. The property's flood zone status. Explanation: in Florida, a real estate agent is obligated to disclose material facts about a property, including its flood zone status, which could affect the property's value or desirability. 24. Explain due diligence in the context of purchasing real estate in Florida. A. Paying the required property taxes in advance. B. Conducting a thorough investigation of the property before purchase. C. Ensuring all utilities are functional. D. Verifying the property's zoning status. Answer: B. Conducting a thorough investigation of the property before purchase. Explanation: due diligence in real estate involves conducting a comprehensive and prudent investigation of a property, including its condition, legal status, and any other pertinent factors, before finalizing a purchase. 25. In Florida, what is the legal definition of a real estate brokerage? A. A firm that deals exclusively in commercial properties. B. An office where real estate sales associates work. C. A business that facilitates the buying, selling, or leasing of real property. D. A legal entity that owns multiple properties. Answer: C. A business that facilitates the buying, selling, or leasing of real property. Explanation: a real estate brokerage in Florida is defined as a business entity that engages in the act of real estate transactions, which includes facilitating the buying, selling, renting, or leasing of real property. 26. Scenario: a Florida homeowner sells their property and moves out before the closing date. 2 days before closing, a hurricane causes significant damage to the property. Who bears the responsibility for repairs? A. The buyer. B. The seller. C. The insurance company. D. The real estate agent. Answer: B. The seller. Explanation: in Florida, the seller is responsible for maintaining the property in the condition it was in at the time of sale until closing. If damage occurs before closing, the seller is typically responsible for repairs. 27. What does procuring cause mean in Florida real estate transactions? A. The reason a property is put up for sale. B. The source of funding for a property purchase. C. The agent responsible for bringing about a sale. D. The legal cause for a contract termination. Answer: C. The agent responsible for bringing about a sale. Explanation: in Florida real estate, procuring cause refers to the actions of a real estate agent that directly lead to the successful completion of a transaction, establishing their entitlement to a commission. 28. Describe the legal implications of communal funds in Florida real estate practices. A. It refers to joint investment in a property. B. It's the practice of mixing client funds with personal funds. C. It's a legal method of managing escrow accounts. D. It's a term for shared property taxes. Answer. B. It's the practice of mixing client funds with personal funds. Explanation. Commingling funds in real estate is an illegal practice where an agent mixes clients' money, like deposits or rents, with their personal funds, leading to potential legal and ethical violations. 29. Scenario. A tenant in Florida discovers mold in their rental unit. What are the tenant's rights and the landlord's obligations in this situation? A. The tenant must clean the mold themselves. B. The landlord must provide alternate accommodation. C. The tenant has the right to withhold rent. D. The landlord is required to remediate the mold promptly. Answer. D. The landlord is required to remediate the mold promptly. Explanation. In Florida, landlords are obligated to maintain rental properties in a habitable condition, which includes addressing mold issues. Tenants have the right to expect prompt remediation of such problems. 30. What is the purpose of the Florida Residential Landlord and Tenant Act? A. To regulate vacation rentals. B. To define the legal rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. C. To set standard rental prices. D. To govern commercial lease agreements. Answer. B. To define the legal rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants. Explanation. The Florida Residential Landlord and Tenant Act outlines the legal rights, restrictions, and obligations of both landlords and tenants in residential rental agreements. 31. In Florida, explain the concept of constructive eviction. A. When a tenant is legally removed by a court order. B. When repairs are needed and the landlord fails to make them. C. When a tenant leaves due to the property becoming uninhabitable. D. When a property is condemned by the city. Answer. C. When a tenant leaves due to the property becoming uninhabitable. Explanation. Constructive eviction in Florida occurs when a tenant is forced to leave because the landlord has failed to maintain the property, making it uninhabitable. 32. Scenario. A real estate broker in Florida is accused of failing to supervise their associates adequately. What are the potential consequences under Florida law? A. Mandatory retraining for the associates. B. Revocation of the broker's license. C. A fine paid to the Florida Real Estate Commission. D. Suspension of the brokerage's operations. Answer. B. Revocation of the broker's license. Explanation. In Florida, a real estate broker is responsible for supervising their associates. Failure to do so can lead to severe consequences, including the revocation of the broker's license. 33. Define exclusive right of sale listing in Florida real estate. A. A listing where only one broker is permitted to sell the property. B. A listing that prohibits the owner from selling the property themselves. C. A listing that guarantees a sale within a specific time frame. D. A listing that is exclusive to commercial properties. Answer. A. A listing where only one broker is permitted to sell the property. Explanation. An exclusive right of sale listing in Florida is an agreement where the seller grants a single broker the exclusive right to sell the property. 34. What are the requirements for a valid real estate contract in Florida? A. Written agreement, consideration, and a licensed real estate agent. B. Mutual consent, legal purpose, and a witness. C. Offer and acceptance, consideration, legal purpose, and competent parties. D. A down payment, property inspection, and closing date. Answer. C. Offer and acceptance, consideration, legal purpose, and competent parties. Explanation. A valid real estate contract in Florida requires offer and acceptance, consideration, something of value, a legal purpose, and all parties must be legally competent. 35. Scenario. A developer in Florida is planning to build a new condominium complex. What are the necessary steps to comply with the Florida Condominium Act? A. Obtain a zoning variance and environmental clearance. B. File a declaration of condominium and submit building plans for approval. C. Secure funding and pre-sell a percentage of units. D. Conduct a market analysis and community impact study. Answer. B. File a declaration of condominium and submit building plans for approval. Explanation. Under the Florida Condominium Act, a developer must file a declaration of condominium, including covenants and restrictions, and submit detailed building plans to the state for approval. 36. Explain the term fiduciary duty as it applies to real estate agents in Florida. A. The duty to provide financial advice to clients. B. The responsibility to maximize profits for the brokerage. C. The obligation to act in the best interests of their clients. D. The requirement to disclose all property defects. Answer. C. The obligation to act in the best interests of their clients. Explanation. Fiduciary duty in Florida real estate means that agents are legally obligated to act in the best interests of their clients, putting the client's needs above their own. 37. In Florida real estate, what distinguishes a condominium from a cooperative? A. Condominiums offer more amenities than cooperatives. B. In a cooperative, residents own shares in a corporation, while in a condominium, they own their unit outright. C. Condominiums are always larger than cooperatives. D. Cooperatives are only for residential purposes, while condominiums can be commercial. Answer. B. In a cooperative, residents own shares in a corporation, while in a condominium, they own their unit outright. Explanation. The key difference is in ownership. In a condominium, you own your specific unit, while in a cooperative, co-op, you own shares in a corporation that owns the building. 38. Scenario. A buyer in Florida backs out of a real estate purchase after discovering a zoning change. What legal considerations apply to the buyer's decision? A. The buyer can withdraw without any consequences. B. The buyer may lose their deposit. C. The buyer must compensate the seller for any losses. D. The buyer is required to complete the purchase regardless of the zoning change. Answer. B. The buyer may lose their deposit. Explanation. If a buyer in Florida backs out of a purchase due to a zoning change, they might forfeit their deposit, depending on the terms of the contract and the timing of the discovery. 39. What are impact fees in Florida real estate development, and when are they applied? A. Fees for environmental impact assessments. B. Charges levied on developers to fund public infrastructure improvements. C. Fees applied to property sales to support local schools. D. Charges for upgrading zoning classifications. Answer. B. Charges levied on developers to fund public infrastructure improvements. Explanation. Impact fees in Florida are charges imposed on new developments to help fund the cost of providing public services, such as roads, schools, and utilities, necessitated by the new development. 40. Describe the process and significance of homestead protection in Florida. A. A process to protect agricultural land from development. B. Legal protection against certain types of creditor claims on one's primary residence. C. A program that assists first-time homebuyers. D. A tax credit for homeowners who renovate historical properties. Answer. B. Legal protection against certain types of creditor claims on one's primary residence. Explanation. Homestead protection in Florida provides homeowners with significant protection against creditors for their primary residence, including a reduction in property taxes and protection from forced sale by creditors. 41. What is the truth in millage? TRIM. Notice in Florida real estate, and what information does it provide to property owners? A. A notice of changes in property tax rates and assessments. B. A disclosure of the property's milling history. C. A certification of the property's true market value. D. A notice about zoning changes affecting the property. Answer: A. A notice of changes in property tax rates and assessments. Explanation: the TARIM, truth in millage. Notice in Florida is sent to property owners to inform them of the proposed property tax rates, assessed value of their property, and the dates of public hearings on budget proposals. 42. Define quiet title action in the context of Florida real estate law. A. An action to resolve boundary disputes. B. A legal procedure to clear a title of any lines or claims. C. A request for reduced property taxes. D. A petition for a zoning change. Answer: B. A legal procedure to clear a title of any lines or claims. Explanation: a quiet title action in Florida is a lawsuit filed to establish or settle the title to real property, clearing it of any competing claims or liens. 43. Scenario: a buyer in Florida purchases a property and later discovers undisclosed sinkhole activity. What legal remedies are available to the buyer? A. Mandatory property replacement by the seller. B. A reduction in property taxes. C. Suing for nondisclosure or misrepresentation. D. No remedies are available under Florida law. Answer: C. Suing for nondisclosure or misrepresentation. Explanation: in Florida, if a seller fails to disclose known sinkhole activity, the buyer may have legal recourse through a lawsuit for nondisclosure or misrepresentation. 44. In Florida, explain the concept of estoppel certificate in condominium sales. A. A certificate proving the property is free of termites. B. A document from the HOA outlining the current financial standing of the unit. C. A certificate verifying the property's compliance with building codes. D. A document confirming the property's zoning status. Answer: B. A document from the HOA outlining the current financial standing of the unit. Explanation: an estoppel certificate in Florida condominium sales is a document provided by the Homeowners Association, HOA, detailing the financial status of the unit, such as dues or assessments owed. 45. What are the responsibilities of a community association manager, CIM, in Florida? A. Managing a community's public relations. B. Overseeing the day-to-day operations of a homeowners association. C. Handling real estate transactions within the community. D. Directing community recreational activities. Answer: B. Overseeing the day-to-day operations of a homeowners association. Explanation: a community association manager, CIM, in Florida is responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of a community's homeowners association, including maintenance, budgeting, and enforcing community rules. 46. Scenario: a Florida real estate agent is involved in a transaction where the seller is not disclosing known defects of the property. What are the agent's ethical and legal obligations? A. To remain neutral and avoid involvement. B. To disclose the defects to potential buyers. C. To persuade the seller to lower the price. D. To terminate their contract with the seller. Answer: B. To disclose the defects to potential buyers. Explanation: in Florida, real estate agents are ethically and legally obligated to disclose known material defects of a property to potential buyers, even if the seller chooses not to disclose them. 47. Describe the process of property appraisal in Florida real estate. A. A survey to determine property boundaries. B. An environmental assessment. C. An evaluation to determine the property's market value. D. A check for building code compliance. Answer: C. An evaluation to determine the property's market value. Explanation: property appraisal in Florida real estate involves a professional assessment to estimate the market value of a property based on factors like location, condition, and recent sales of similar properties. 48. What constitutes illegal discrimination in Florida real estate practices? A. Charging different prices to different clients. B. Refusing to sell or rent based on factors like race, religion, or national origin. C. Selling properties in only certain neighborhoods. D. Preferring cash buyers over those with mortgages. Answer: B. Refusing to sell or rent based on factors like race, religion, or national origin. Explanation: illegal discrimination in Florida real estate includes refusing to sell, rent, negotiate, or otherwise make housing unavailable because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, familial status, or disability. 49. Scenario: a commercial tenant in Florida modifies a leased property without the landlord's permission. What are the potential legal consequences? A. The tenant may lose their security deposit. B. The lease may be terminated. C. The tenant could be required to restore the property to its original condition. D. All of the above. Answer: D. All of the above. Explanation: in Florida, if a tenant makes unauthorized modifications to a leased property, they could face various consequences, including loss of security deposit, lease termination, and the obligation to restore the property. 50. In Florida, what are the legal requirements for a valid lease agreement? A. The agreement must be notarized. B. A minimum lease term of 1 year. C. Identification of parties, description of the property, terms of lease, and signatures. D. Approval from the local housing authority. Answer: C. Identification of parties, description of the property, terms of lease, and signatures. Explanation: a valid lease agreement in Florida must clearly identify the parties involved, provide a description of the leased property, outline the terms and conditions of the lease, and be signed by both parties. 51. Define market value and its importance in real estate appraisals in Florida. A. The price a property would fetch in the current market conditions. B. The highest price a property can achieve in any market. C. The assessed value of a property for tax purposes. D. The historical value of a property based on past sales. Answer: A. The price a property would fetch in the current market conditions. Explanation: market value in real estate is the most probable price a property would command in a competitive and open market under all conditions requisite to a fair sale. Appraisals in Florida aim to estimate this value. 52. Scenario: a real estate broker in Florida receives a commission from both the buyer and seller without disclosing it to both parties. What are the implications of this action? A. The broker can lose their license for unethical practice. B. The transactions become void. C. The broker must refund the commissions. D. There are no legal implications if the sale closes successfully. Answer: A. The broker can lose their license for unethical practice. Explanation: in Florida, a real estate broker must disclose dual agency and receiving commissions from both parties. Failure to disclose can result in ethical violations and the potential loss of their license. 53. Explain capital gain tax implications in Florida real estate sales. A. No capital gain tax is imposed in Florida. B. A flat rate of 15% on all real estate sales. C. Tax on the profit from the sale of a property or investment. D. An additional 10% tax on properties sold within 2 years of purchase. Answer: C. Tax on the profit from the sale of a property or investment. Explanation. Capital gain tax in real estate is a tax on the profit realized from the sale of a non-inventory asset, such as property, that was greater than the amount realized on the sale. 54. What is the purpose of the Florida Real Estate Recovery Fund? A. To fund real estate education and research. B. To assist homeowners facing foreclosure. C. To compensate individuals harmed by a licensed real estate professional. D. To provide loans to first-time homebuyers. Answer. C. To compensate individuals harmed by a licensed real estate professional. Explanation. The Florida Real Estate Recovery Fund provides compensation to individuals who have suffered monetary damages due to the wrongful actions of a licensed real estate professional. 55. Scenario. A property in Florida is sold with an undisclosed easement. How does this affect the new owner's rights? A. The new owner can terminate the easement. B. The new owner must honor the easement. C. The new owner can renegotiate the easement terms. D. The sale is automatically void. Answer. B. The new owner must honor the easement. Explanation. In Florida, if a property is sold with an undisclosed easement, the new owner is still legally bound to honor it. Easements are generally considered to run with the land, regardless of ownership changes. 56. In Florida, what is the difference between exclusive agency listing and exclusive right to sell listing? A. Exclusive agency listing allows selling by other brokers. Exclusive right to sell does not. B. Exclusive agency listing is for commercial properties. Exclusive right to sell is for residential. C. There is no legal difference in Florida. D. Exclusive agency listing is a shorter contract term. Answer. A. Exclusive agency listing allows selling by other brokers. Exclusive right to sell does not. Explanation. In an exclusive agency listing, the property owner retains the right to sell the property themselves without paying commission, unlike in an exclusive right to sell listing where the agent gets commission regardless of who sells the property. 57. Describe the role of title companies in Florida real estate transactions. A. To ensure the property is free of liens and encumbrances. B. To finance real estate transactions. C. To conduct property inspections. D. To manage property listings. Answer. A. To ensure the property is free of liens and encumbrances. Explanation. Title companies in Florida play a crucial role in real estate transactions by conducting title searches to ensure the property is free of liens, encumbrances, or legal disputes, and by facilitating the closing process. 58. Scenario. A Florida homeowner is facing foreclosure. What options are available to them under Florida law? A. Declare bankruptcy to avoid foreclosure. B. Apply for a loan modification or forbearance. C. Leave the property immediately. D. Wait for a government bailout. Answer. B. Apply for a loan modification or forbearance. Explanation. Homeowners in Florida facing foreclosure have several options, including negotiating with the lender for a loan modification, forbearance, short sale, or deed in lieu of foreclosure. 59. What is transfer of development rights? TDAR. In Florida real estate, and how is it used? A. Transferring property ownership to a developer. B. A method of transferring the right to develop from one property to another. C. Changing the zoning classification of a property. D. Selling property development rights to the government. Answer. B. A method of transferring the right to develop from one property to another. Explanation. Transfer of development rights, TDR, in Florida is a zoning technique used to permanently protect land with conservation value, sending sites, by transferring the development rights to more appropriate areas, receiving sites. 60. In the context of Florida real estate, explain sale-leaseback transactions. A. selling a property and then leasing it back from the new owner. B. Leasing a property with the option to buy it later. C. A standard commercial property sale. D. A type of short-term property rental. Answer: A. Selling a property and then leasing it back from the new owner. Explanation: a sale-leaseback transaction in Florida involves a property owner selling the property to a buyer and then leasing it back, allowing the seller to convert their equity into cash while still occupying the space. 61. What does amortization mean in the context of a real estate mortgage in Florida? A. The process of increasing the mortgage balance. B. Paying off a mortgage with regular payments over a set period. C. A method of assessing property value. D. Changing the interest rate of a mortgage over time. Answer: B. Paying off a mortgage with regular payments over a set period. Explanation: amortization in the context of a real estate mortgage in Florida refers to the process of paying off a debt over time through regular payments. A portion of each payment is for the interest, while the remaining amount is applied to the principal balance. 62. Define lion theory as it applies to Florida real estate. A. A theory that prioritizes environmental liens. B. The idea that a mortgage is a lion on a property until paid off. C. A method for calculating property taxes. D. A legal principle governing landlord-tenant relationships. Answer: B. The idea that a mortgage is a lion on a property until paid off. Explanation: in Florida, the lion theory of mortgages states that a mortgage is regarded as a lion against the property. The borrower holds the title to the property, but the mortgage remains a lion until the loan is fully repaid. 63. Scenario: a Florida realtor lists a property that is later discovered to have unpermitted additions. What are the implications for the realtor and the seller? A. The realtor and seller can be fined. B. The property must be restored to its original condition. C. The seller must obtain retroactive permits. D. Both the realtor and seller could face legal liability for non-disclosure. Answer: D. Both the realtor and seller could face legal liability for non-disclosure. Explanation: in Florida, failing to disclose unpermitted additions can lead to legal liability for both the realtor and the seller. Buyers who later discover such issues may seek damages for non-disclosure or misrepresentation. 64. In Florida, what is the significance of a deed restriction in a real estate transaction? A. It limits the types of financing available for the property. B. It restricts the resale value of the property. C. It imposes certain conditions or limitations on the use of the property. D. It guarantees the property is free of liens. Answer: C. It imposes certain conditions or limitations on the use of the property. Explanation: a deed restriction in Florida real estate is a limitation written into a deed that restricts or controls the use of the property. Such restrictions can govern a wide range of uses and practices and are binding on current and future owners. 65. Explain the concept of brokerage relationship in Florida real estate law. A. The legal relationship between a broker and their client. B. The partnership between multiple real estate brokers. C. A financial arrangement between a broker and a lender. D. The contractual relationship between a broker and a real estate agent. Answer: A. The legal relationship between a broker and their client. Explanation: in Florida real estate law, a brokerage relationship is the legal relationship that forms between a real estate broker and their client, whether the client is a buyer, seller, landlord, or tenant. This relationship entails certain duties and responsibilities, such as loyalty and confidentiality. 66. Scenario: a Florida property owner is delinquent in paying property taxes. What are the consequences and potential remedies? A. The property will be immediately foreclosed. B. A lien may be placed on the property, which can lead to a tax deed sale. C. The owner will be banned from purchasing future properties in Florida. D. The property will be reassessed at a higher value. Answer. B. A lien may be placed on the property, which can lead to a tax deed sale. Explanation. In Florida, if a property owner is delinquent on property taxes, a tax lien may be placed on the property. If unpaid, this can eventually lead to a tax deed sale where the property is sold at public auction. 67. What is Greenbelt law in Florida and how does it affect real estate taxation? A. A law that exempts green buildings from property taxes. B. A law providing tax incentives for properties with green energy installations. C. A zoning law that restricts development in designated greenbelt areas. D. A law that assesses agricultural property based on its agricultural value rather than potential development value. Answer. D. A law that assesses agricultural property based on its agricultural value rather than potential development value. Explanation. Florida's Greenbelt law allows agricultural properties to be taxed based on their current use as agricultural land rather than their potential value if developed, often resulting in lower property taxes. 68. Describe the legal framework governing mobile homes in Florida real estate. A. Mobile homes are considered personal property and are not subject to real estate laws. B. They are regulated the same as any residential real estate property. C. Mobile homes are subject to special zoning and land use regulations. D. They are only allowed in designated rural areas. Answer. C. Mobile homes are subject to special zoning and land use regulations. Explanation. In Florida, mobile homes are subject to specific laws and regulations, including zoning and land use requirements. While they are considered personal property, they must comply with certain standards and regulations when placed on land. 69. Scenario. A buyer in Florida purchases a property adjacent to a navigable waterway. What rights and restrictions apply regarding the waterway? A. The buyer has exclusive rights to the waterway. B. The buyer can restrict public access to the waterway. C. The buyer has access rights but cannot obstruct public use of the waterway. D. The buyer must allow commercial activities on the waterway. Answer. C. The buyer has access rights but cannot obstruct public use of the waterway. Explanation. In Florida, owning property adjacent to a navigable waterway grants the owner certain riparian rights, including access, but they cannot obstruct the public's right to use the waterway. 70. In Florida, explain the legal distinction between real property and personal property. A. Real property includes land and buildings. Personal property includes movable items. B. Real property is used for residential purposes. Personal property for commercial. C. There is no legal distinction in Florida. D. Real property can be leased. Personal property cannot. Answer. A. Real property includes land and buildings. Personal property includes movable items. Explanation. In Florida, as in other jurisdictions, real property refers to land and permanent structures attached to it, while personal property includes movable items and possessions. 71. What are the implications of the Florida Fair Housing Act for real estate professionals? A. They must provide housing opportunities regardless of the client's financial status. B. They are required to sell a certain percentage of properties to minority buyers. C. They are prohibited from discrimination in housing based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status. D. They must prioritize first-time homebuyers. Answer. C. They are prohibited from discrimination in housing based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status. Explanation. The Florida Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of dwellings based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or disability. 72. Scenario. A real estate agent in Florida is representing a client who is buying a property in a homeowners association, HOA. Community. What disclosures are required? A. Disclosure of the HOA fees and rules. B. Disclosure of the agent's commission. C. A list of approved vendors for home repairs. D. The future development plans for the community. Answer. A. Disclosure of the HOA fees and rules. Explanation. In Florida, when buying a property in an HOA community, the real estate agent is required to disclose to the client the existence of the HOA, its fees, rules, and any other relevant governance documents. 73. Define timeshare and its regulation under Florida law. A. A long-term rental agreement regulated like standard leases. B. A type of property ownership where multiple owners hold rights to use the property for a specific period each year. C. A vacation rental arrangement with no ownership rights. D. A commercial property investment shared among multiple owners. Answer. B. A type of property ownership where multiple owners hold rights to use the property for a specific period each year. Explanation. A timeshare in Florida is a property with a divided form of ownership or use rights where multiple owners hold rights to use the property for an allotted period each year. Florida law heavily regulates timeshares, requiring specific disclosures and consumer protections. 74. In Florida, what are the legal requirements for a property disclosure statement? A. It must include the property's appraisal value. B. It should disclose any known defects and material facts affecting the property's value. C. It must be notarized and recorded with the county. D. It should list the previous owners of the property. Answer. B. It should disclose any known defects and material facts affecting the property's value. Explanation. In Florida, a property disclosure statement is required to inform potential buyers of any known defects and material facts that could affect the property's value or desirability, such as structural problems or past flooding. 75. Scenario. A commercial property in Florida is subject to an environmental cleanup order. What are the implications for the current owner and potential buyers? A. The property cannot be sold until the cleanup is complete. B. The current owner is responsible for the cleanup costs. C. The buyer assumes responsibility for the cleanup. D. The property's value will increase after the cleanup. Answer. B. The current owner is responsible for the cleanup costs. Explanation. In Florida, if a commercial property is subject to an environmental cleanup order, the current owner is typically responsible for the cleanup costs. This responsibility and the associated costs can significantly affect the sale and negotiations of the property. 76. Explain the concept of bulk sales in Florida real estate transactions. A. The sale of multiple properties in a single transaction. B. A discount sale of properties by a developer. C. The sale of a property in large quantities of square footage. D. A commercial property sale involving large quantities of goods. Answer. A. The sale of multiple properties in a single transaction. Explanation. In Florida real estate, a bulk sale refers to the sale of multiple properties or units, such as condos or homes, in a single transaction. This is often seen in investment or commercial real estate deals. 77. What does right of first refusal mean in a Florida real estate context? A. The seller must first offer the property to the state. B. The tenant has the first chance to buy the property before it's offered to others. C. The right to refuse any offer on a property. D. The buyer's right to cancel the sale within a certain period. Answer. B. The tenant has the first chance to buy the property before it's offered to others. Explanation. In Florida, the right of first refusal is a contractual right that gives an individual or entity the opportunity to enter into a business transaction with a person or company before anyone else can. If the individual with the right of first refusal declines, the property can be offered to others. 78 scenario. A Florida homeowner discovers their property is zoned differently than originally believed. How does this affect their use of the property? A. The zoning has no impact on the current use of the property. B. They must immediately comply with the new zoning regulations. C. They may apply for a zoning variance or continue the current use under certain conditions. D. The property must be sold within a year. Answer. C. They may apply for a zoning variance or continue the current use under certain conditions. Explanation. In Florida, if a property zoning is different than what the owner believed, the owner may need to apply for a zoning variance to continue their desired use or might be able to continue the current use under grandfather conditions. 79. In Florida, describe the process and importance of real estate closing. A. It's a formal meeting where property ownership is transferred. B. Closing is the final step in property appraisal. C. It involves renewing the property's title insurance. D. It's the process of finalizing a mortgage agreement. Answer. A. It's a formal meeting where property ownership is transferred. Explanation. In Florida, real estate closing is a formal process, usually involving a closing agent, where all relevant documents are signed and ownership of the property is legally transferred from the seller to the buyer. 80. What is zoning variance in Florida, and under what circumstances might it be granted? A. A change in zoning laws for a specific area. B. Permission to use land in a way that deviates from current zoning regulations. C. A temporary suspension of zoning laws. D. A variance is never granted in Florida. Answer. B. Permission to use land in a way that deviates from current zoning regulations. Explanation. A zoning variance in Florida is a discretionary exception to the zoning ordinance, granted to a property owner to allow for a specific use that diverges from the zoning regulations, often due to unique circumstances regarding the property. 81. What is title seasoning in Florida real estate, and why is it important? A. A process of verifying the property's historical ownership. B. The period a property must be held before it can be resold. C. A seasoning period for adjusting property taxes. D. A landscaping requirement for all new property titles. Answer. B. The period a property must be held before it can be resold. Explanation. Title seasoning in Florida refers to the length of time someone must hold title to a property before they can resell it, particularly relevant in refinancing and selling scenarios to prevent fraudulent transactions. 82. Define construction line in the context of Florida real estate. A. A line for unpaid property taxes during construction. B. A line placed by a contractor for unpaid labor or materials. C. A mandatory line for all new constructions. D. A line imposed by the city for construction permit violations. Answer. B. A line placed by a contractor for unpaid labor or materials. Explanation. A construction line in Florida, also known as a mechanic's line, is placed on a property by a contractor, subcontractor, or supplier who has not been paid for labor, services, or materials provided for the property. 83 scenario. A Florida homeowner wants to rent out their property seasonally. What are the legal considerations and requirements under Florida law? A. Obtaining a short-term rental license and paying applicable taxes. B. No special requirements are needed for seasonal rentals. C. Mandatory membership in a vacation rental association. D. Seasonal rentals are not permitted under Florida law. Answer. A. Obtaining a short-term rental license and paying applicable taxes. Explanation. In Florida, homeowners who want to rent out their properties seasonally are often required to obtain a short-term rental license, comply with local zoning ordinances, and pay applicable taxes, such as tourist development taxes. 84. In Florida, explain the concept of homestead exemption in property taxation. A. An exemption for properties over 50 years old. B. A tax reduction for primary residences. C. An exemption for agricultural properties. D. A temporary tax break for new homeowners. Answer. B. A tax reduction for primary residences. Explanation. The homestead exemption in Florida provides a property tax reduction for primary residences. This exemption lowers the taxable value of the property, thus reducing the amount of property tax owed. 85. Describe the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, and its relevance to Florida real estate. A. A program providing flood insurance exclusively to Florida residents. B. A federal program offering flood insurance to homeowners in flood-prone areas. C. An initiative to fund flood defenses in coastal states. D. A Florida state program offering subsidized flood insurance. Answer. B. A federal program offering flood insurance to homeowners in flood-prone areas. Explanation. The National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, is a federal program that provides flood insurance to homeowners, renters, and business owners in participating communities, which is particularly relevant in flood-prone areas like Florida. 86. Scenario. A real estate agent in Florida fails to disclose a conflict of interest. What are the possible legal and ethical consequences? A. Mandatory ethics training. B. Loss of commission from the sale. C. Revocation of real estate license and potential legal action. D. A warning from the Florida Real Estate Commission. Answer. C. Revocation of real estate license and potential legal action. Explanation. Failing to disclose a conflict of interest can lead to serious legal and ethical consequences for a Florida real estate agent, including the revocation of their license and potential legal action for breach of fiduciary duty. 87. What is the purpose of the Florida Landlord Tenant Law? A. To govern vacation rental agreements. B. To regulate the relationship between landlords and tenants in residential leases. C. To set standardized rent prices across Florida. D. To oversee commercial lease agreements. Answer. B. To regulate the relationship between landlords and tenants in residential leases. Explanation. The Florida Landlord Tenant Law provides the legal framework for the relationship between landlords and tenants in residential leases, outlining the rights and responsibilities of each party. 88. In Florida, explain the process and implications of property tax reassessment. A. A yearly evaluation to adjust property tax rates. B. Reevaluating a property's value for tax purposes, often after improvements or changes in the market. C. A process triggered by a homeowner's appeal. D. A mandatory reassessment every 5 years for all properties. Answer. B. Reevaluating a property's value for tax purposes, often after improvements or changes in the market. Explanation. Property tax reassessment in Florida involves reevaluating the value of a property to reflect current market conditions or changes due to improvements, which can affect the amount of property tax owed. 89. Scenario. A property in Florida is found to have historical significance. What impact does this have on the owner's rights and responsibilities? A. The owner can apply for tax benefits. B. The property cannot be altered or sold without state permission. C. The owner must open the property to the public. D. Renovations and alterations may be subject to approval by historical preservation authorities. Answer. D. renovations, and alterations may be subject to approval by historical preservation authorities. Explanation: owning a historically significant property in Florida may mean that any proposed alterations or renovations need to be approved by historical preservation authorities to ensure the preservation of the property's historical character. 90. Define wetlands in the Florida real estate context and discuss their importance in property development. A. Land areas saturated with water, protected due to their environmental value. B. Areas suitable for water-based recreational developments. C. Unbuildable lands due to high water tables. D. Areas designated for future waterfront developments. Answer: A. Land areas saturated with water, protected due to their environmental value. Explanation: wetlands in Florida are areas that are saturated by surface or groundwater with vegetation adapted for life in saturated soil conditions. They are important in property development for environmental reasons and are often protected, limiting or regulating development activities. 91. What is a comparative market analysis, CEMA, and how is it used in Florida real estate? A. An analysis comparing property taxes across different regions. B. A financial assessment for mortgage approval. C. An estimation of a property's value based on recent sales of similar properties. D. A study of market trends for investment purposes. Answer: C. An estimation of a property's value based on recent sales of similar properties. Explanation: a comparative market analysis, CEMA, in Florida real estate is a tool used by real estate professionals to estimate the value of a property by comparing it to similar properties that have recently sold in the same area. 92. Scenario: a buyer in Florida purchases a property only to discover significant undisclosed defects after closing. What recourse does the buyer have? A. The buyer can return the property to the seller. B. The buyer can seek compensation through legal action for non-disclosure. C. The buyer must repair the defects at their own cost. D. The buyer can request a reassessment of the property's value. Answer: B. The buyer can seek compensation through legal action for non-disclosure. Explanation: in Florida, if significant defects are discovered after the purchase and they were not disclosed by the seller, the buyer may have legal recourse to seek compensation for non-disclosure or misrepresentation. 93. Explain dual agency in Florida real estate and the legal requirements surrounding it. A. Representing both the buyer and seller in the same transaction. B. Working for two different real estate agencies simultaneously. C. Selling two properties to the same buyer. D. A broker operating in two different states. Answer: A. Representing both the buyer and seller in the same transaction. Explanation: dual agency in Florida real estate occurs when a real estate agent or broker represents both the buyer and seller in the same transaction. This requires full disclosure and informed consent from all parties due to the potential for conflicts of interest. 94. In Florida, what are the requirements for a legal real estate advertisement? A. The advertisement must include the property's exact price. B. It must be approved by the Florida Real Estate Commission. C. It must include the licensing status of the agent or broker. D. All advertisements must be in English. Answer: C. It must include the licensing status of the agent or broker. Explanation: in Florida, legal requirements for real estate advertisements include the need to identify the advertising party as a licensed real estate broker or agent. This ensures transparency and consumer protection in real estate marketing. 95. Scenario: a real estate transaction in Florida is found to involve fraudulent misrepresentation. What are the consequences for the parties involved? A. The transaction is automatically voided. B. The party committing the misrepresentation may face legal action and penalties. C. A fine payable to the Florida Real Estate Commission. D. Mandatory arbitration to resolve the dispute. Answer B. The party committing the misrepresentation may face legal action and penalties. Explanation: if a real estate transaction in Florida involves fraudulent misrepresentation, the party responsible for the misrepresentation can face legal consequences, including potential lawsuits, damages, and even criminal charges. 96. Define coastal construction control line and its significance in Florida property development. A. A boundary line beyond which construction is prohibited. B. A guideline for sustainable coastal development. C. A demarcation for flood insurance requirements. D. A line delineating public and private beach areas. Answer A. A boundary line beyond which construction is prohibited. Explanation: the coastal construction control line in Florida marks the area seaward of which certain types of construction are restricted or prohibited to protect beaches and coastal properties from the impacts of severe storms and erosion. 97. What are special zoning districts in Florida, and how do they affect property use and development? A. Districts where only commercial development is allowed. B. Areas with unique environmental features requiring special protection. C. Zones designated for high-density residential development. D. Areas with specific land use regulations different from the surrounding area. Answer D. Areas with specific land use regulations different from the surrounding area. Explanation: special zoning districts in Florida are areas designated with specific land use regulations that differ from the general zoning rules of the surrounding area, often established to address unique needs or characteristics of those areas. 98. Scenario: a tenant in Florida breaches their rental agreement. What are the landlord's rights and the tenant's liabilities in this case? A. The landlord can immediately evict the tenant without notice. B. The tenant must pay for any damages and may face eviction. C. The landlord must find a new tenant before taking any action. D. The tenant has the right to stay until the lease term ends. Answer B. The tenant must pay for any damages and may face eviction. Explanation: if a tenant in Florida breaches their rental agreement, the landlord has the right to seek damages and may initiate eviction proceedings. The tenant is liable for any breaches, such as non-payment of rent or property damage. 99. In Florida, explain the significance of Mandatory Homeowners Association, HOA. Membership in certain communities. A. It's a voluntary choice for homeowners in Florida. B. Homeowners must join the HOA and comply with its rules and fees. C. Only homeowners in gated communities are required to join. D. HOA membership is mandated by the state for all property owners. Answer B. Homeowners must join the HOA and comply with its rules and fees. Explanation: in some Florida communities, particularly in planned developments or condominiums, homeowners are required to become members of the Homeowners Association and are bound by its rules, regulations, and fees. 100. Describe the legal concept of agency disclosure in Florida real estate transactions. A. Disclosing the real estate agency's commission rates. B. Revealing the agency relationship between the agent and the client. C. Disclosing any agency affiliations with property developers. D. Providing a list of all agents working for a real estate agency. Answer B. Revealing the agency relationship between the agent and the client. Explanation: agency disclosure in Florida real estate involves revealing the nature of the agency relationship between the real estate agent and their client, whether the agent is representing the buyer, the seller, or both in a transaction. This disclosure is crucial for transparency and informed consent.